So it's not a
It's
very
happened
exciting beginning to the podcast,
a minute
but
ago. Yeah.
that's all right. So, what's going on? How's Mexico? How's Mexico City?
Mexico City is very, very busy. Busy.
Mm-hmm.
Busy. Um, but all
Nice.
good, all flowing.
Yeah.
Van City, Vancouver, British Columbia.
It's a little bit smoky. There's been fires.
Okay.
Not in the city, but I haven't really kept up with the news. I've just kind of been observing it every day. And the funny thing is, I went for a long bike ride yesterday. I went running this morning, so it's probably the wrong thing to do is to exercise and maximize respiration when the air is the worst. But
True. Yeah.
that's
Nice.
okay. It kind of gets a weird glow in the sun. The sun gets red, which is pretty crazy. If
And
I
it looks beautiful, I imagine.
it does, yeah. It's kind of ominous, but it's also beautiful. It's that both and. Sometimes things can be
Exactly.
terrifying and beautiful.
We're having a lot of rain every day, and it's been going on for like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So streets get flooded and lots of traffic.
Man,
We already have lots of traffic, but then just
yeah.
imagine with all the rain. So
Is there good irrigation systems for the streets, or it just gets,
some of them,
yeah,
but there's chaos
they're not
definitely.
working
There's
properly?
there's chaos. Yeah,
Yeah.
not all of them.
Money that was supposed to go there didn't end up going there. Maybe.
That's one theory. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Most people would say that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case in all of them.
Yeah.
It's politics is crazy here.
Yeah. How's it been going since the election? Everything's changed. Has anything changed?
Nothing, no, nothing has
Yeah.
changed because until 2019 he will be president,
Right.
but not yet. He's
Gotcha.
waiting.
Nice.
But I imagine everyone in the now old government
Mm-hmm.
is just taking their precautions and like
Yeah.
making new friends, you know.
Getting everything in order, yeah.
Yes, I just want to say I'm not really sharp today. I'm more in a slowly flowing
Nice.
thoughts, but I'm excited for this conversation. I appreciate the time, and
Totally, man.
it's great.
I think that's probably the state I should be in, but I like kind of put myself in this state. I drank a lot of coffee, so it might have been ill-advised to try to force myself into an energetic state, but is there music playing somewhere? Oh, gotcha. So I can't have you now open because randomly it starts playing channels. Um,
That's
yeah,
weird.
but
So you just closed it.
I
Good.
closed it.
Okay.
But yeah, I think what's been crazy the last maybe week or so is I've been trying to get back to a meditating practice, and it's continuously one of the funniest things to see how hard it is to get myself to sit down for 5-10 minutes in silence. That shouldn't be so hard. I'm constantly amazed at how hard it is to get yourself to sit down somewhere for 10 minutes.
Well, the thing is, just sit down.
That's it. Yeah.
You just sit down. It's the hard part. You can sit down and be lost in
Yeah.
thought or do any other thing. But if you just
Yeah.
want to be, then the mind rushes over with some crazy story,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah. I At this point, I would love to just get myself to be sitting down on a regular basis for 10 minutes, and then eventually I'll start getting better at watching the thoughts and being aware and actually, doing the work in that way. But we'll
But what do
see.
you do? Well, th this may be a trick question, but like, what do you do when you sit down?
If I can do it, I usually start meditating. It's like that whole thing of like set your goals really low and then you'll end up doing more. Like that thing of like sit
Like
down and
showing up is just it's like
yeah.
80%. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you want to be writing a bunch of stuff, just force yourself to sit down and write like a shitty sentence
Stardust
and
City.
then you'll
Yeah.
probably yeah, so it's that whole thing.
I love that
Um
approach. It's a
yeah,
great approach.
I think it's
But then
helpful.
I think in terms of meditation, that's tricky because there's always the issue that mind needs action or focus or some kind of activity, right?
Mhm.
Um, most meditations give the mind a very simple activity.
Mhm. Concentration meditation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I like the idea of let's just sit down and
Mhm.
not impose an activity.
Right.
But um, is that possible?
I
Is there? Do you think that's a good way to train the mind, or do you think that's just
no.
because there's also people that would say that you can't just sit down and do anything like
Right.
that's not even a thing, right?
Yeah.
Like the mind has a flow and a
Yeah.
state and an activity, and you could either focus it or have it scattered and have just
Right.
random thoughts go into
Yeah.
consciousness.
Yeah, it's interesting because many reasons. I think one of the things that I like to do in meditation is to allow for pockets of just, not trying to enforce something or trying to allow for room to just see what happens and let it go back to its natural whatever the mind wants to do, right? Um, I also think that after a lot of practice, you can get to a place where what's flowing is a lot better or a lot more maybe directly associated to your sensory input, which is I think personally that's a large goal is to like connect my conscious and my awareness to basically mostly consist of sensory input and my awareness of location, present moment, all that stuff. And I guess someone could argue that a lot of, well, your present moment also has to do with the thoughts that you're having. And I get that. But I think that there's a lot of thoughts that are habitually formed that are not, that it's just overcrowded in there, man. And I think that
Yeah.
because we're so inundated with stuff and increasingly so as time goes on and as this technology this just you totally understand what I'm saying as that gets larger and more and
Info
influences
overload.
our
Yeah.
info overload. I think that it's going to take more time and maybe more enforcement in the beginning to impose an action during meditation so that you can start clearing away those cobwebs and maybe get back to something that's more directly correlative to your sensory input. But maybe there's people out there that are just, they haven't had as much influence in their thought patterns or anything like that. And if they just sit down, they're much more likely to be connected to their present moment than I am, which is probably accurate. But so maybe people need less action
Yeah.
than others.
I like that. But here's the different approach, though, if I
Mm-hmm.
may.
Mm-hmm. If you may.
There's no,
No.
there's no thoughts without input.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Is that true?
both, I think so, though. I don't know, but I think so.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
I really believe that the mind repeats. Like I would say that's one basic function that
Totally.
I may not
Yeah.
be saying the right term for it. I mean,
Hmm.
there's probably this, I'm sure, this very complex thing behind it. But in my
Yeah.
own practical and simple comprehension of it, it's a repetition
Yeah.
of the input. And
Would you
it
include
may also
past
be that,
would
yeah,
you include past memories in that?
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
But
Okay. So not necessarily just an input of your life in the moment and then repeats in but memory is an input.
memory is an input because every repetition becomes also a new input.
Right, because
That's
it's
why
rewriting.
addiction is so hard to overcome,
Right.
and habits are
Yeah.
what constitute your lifestyle,
Yeah,
and
they get stronger over time.
because of the repetition.
Yeah, the input gets
But
stronger.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's crazy. Could
the
that
less you
be
do
a yeah.
something, the more it's enforced. The less you do something, the less it's reinforced. Um,
Yeah.
and you know, that's why music is so powerful as a form of meditation. You know, kirtan for in a lot of different traditions,
Yeah.
music is very spiritual, and I think it's because it's a just a beautiful input
Yes.
that then your mind will repeat that beautiful input back to you, and that's your thoughts.
Totally. I also think it's like it's complex enough, or lots of music can be complex enough. Even simple music can be complex. I
Yeah,
think I would love to see MRI scans of music listening, but I think something about music occupies the mind in and can be maximized in the complexity that your mind interprets it at. So it's like you're completely hijacking the multi-layered analyzing, thinking, hope, whatever your brain is up to. It hijacks it, and you can. That's not to say that you can also listen to music and be multitasking and doing all kinds of other stuff. I think
yeah, totally.
multitasking has become way more normal in as as human brain activity. Multitasking, I think, has become normal, more normalized. But yeah, that's always a thing that I've loved say about math rock or even jazz or like music that you could increase the amount that you need to have simultaneous channels of concentration going on when there's
Yeah,
rhythms
like
that yeah
progressive rock albums, and
yeah
of course, math rock would be like
yeah
a consequence of that, but
right
they get better every time you listen to them
yeah
because you comprehend better
yeah
how it works and what's coming, and then you
yeah
feel the satisfaction of this is so complex, but I understand, and I perceive the patterns. I
yeah
see through
why
the
does that make us
structure.
feel good? Why does
Dude,
recognizing something make us feel good? There's like that study of people who see a face. They'll rate them more attractive if they've seen them more than one time. Just our brains, just by recognizing something, likes it more. What is that? That's so weird, dude. What
yeah,
is that?
maybe order. It may be the balance between order and chaos, and comprehension being
Yeah,
a rasp on the chaotic reality that we don't even know why we're in.
totally. And maybe like a deep ingrained like pattern recognition where your brain recognized it and it didn't have a negative impact on you. So your brain is just like, oh, that won't kill me. I'll survive and keep going. You
And
know,
it's also, yeah,
it's
it's
not,
also chemical, like
yeah,
serotonin powering up when you understand new like paradigm
right.
shifts,
But
and
that's weird that that
it's
happens.
we don't. And do you think
Yeah.
there's an answer for that?
I'm
Maybe some
sure
neuroscience
Yeah, I'm sure there's like
scientists.
thesis papers in different fields of people
Yeah,
hypothesizing, and maybe there's some clear understanding. But the crazy thing is, nobody understands conscious. Like, nobody. My favorite thing about McKenna is nobody understands what's going on.
yeah,
And I think that's one of the most true things, man. Nobody understands what is happening. And that's I think, one of the most exciting ideas, because then it leaves room to explore thoughts and things. There's no
Yeah.
rigid conclusion to anything, you know?
I like this concept is that you can't understand, but you can begin to understand.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much it. Because even though you can't understand and nobody really does,
Yeah.
we're all trying our best
Yeah.
to
Which
kind
is
of have a
funny, dude.
sense
That's
of,
funny.
and that's an adventure, and it's like
Yeah.
that's why we're having these conversations.
Yeah.
Like,
I was listening to one of his lectures the other day. I forget. There's too many of those, but he was talking about how even deciding that you think you know something, or choosing an answer to a question, you're disempowering like the most fundamental conscious currency that you have, which is the ability to agree with something or believe something, or, you know, basically you identify with the thing. And just by saying this is how it is, you're disempowering your ability to say that it's all these other things as well. And I think that that is
yeah,
like that's kind of the conclusion in my mind of both. And it's like you can't rationally have an end point in terms of like a decision, and I think that's
yeah,
super interesting. But
yeah, yeah.
just a quick thought that I had. We were talking about familiarity with things and how it increases how you perceive them and you enjoy things that you recognize. That, I mean, yeah, songs are a major representation of that. But I think most importantly, that's habits.
Hmm.
And I think that that's you're familiar with what you do and it makes you feel good even if that thing is not good for you. And that's the paradox, I think. That's the confusing thing, is that something that could be even unhealthy for you, not exercising, eating poorly, whatever it is, your body likes it for some reason because it's a habit. And that's so weird to me.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I guess we could elaborate.
Yes.
Because the body likes it,
Maybe the
you know,
mind likes it.
the mind likes comfort,
Mm-hmm.
and the body
Mm-hmm.
will I really think the body will just um transform into whatever the mind needs, and reality and
Mm-hmm.
survival, right? So
Yeah.
if you the body just goes along, I think, because physical I think physical barriers are mostly mental barriers.
Mm-hmm.
That's why a lot of I think that's why um, sports is such a huge thing in our
Mm-hmm.
society. But also, the mind likes comfort because life is so painful.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much suffering from the very start
Yeah.
that it's natural that we tend to favor habits that comfort us.
Yeah.
That's why the going through a like personal development or transformation, or it's hard to give it a
Yeah.
name, but that thing where you're trying to be the best you can be, or whatever
Yeah.
it is that you want to become,
Progress.
you need to start having habits
Mm-hmm.
that may not give you comfort, but will serve you better for whatever it is that wherever it is that you're going, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It's tricky to word it.
No, totally. So you're saying that the sort of the premise is the body will go along with the mind, and the mind, in order to ease the fundamental sensation of suffering, will tend to trick the body into comfort more so than, say,
And
short term suffering for long term
right.
gain situation, which
Hmm.
which is probably better for the body uh, and the mind.
And the peace of mind, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because, well,
What's the
we
here's my question. What's the problem with comfort?
the problem with comfort is that it tends to get boring.
Yeah, it gets
First of
boring.
all,
Yeah.
it gets boring. Too much order just makes everything uh, not living. You know what I mean?
I think
Not
order's on the opposite end though, wouldn't you think? Order
of comfort.
is
I
yeah.
think
Don't you think? Disorder is
hmm,
comfortable, isn't it? Wouldn't you say? Or no, what?
no,
It's like a
I don't think so.
combination of both.
Yeah. I mean, comfort is, I don't think it's bad,
It's not bad.
or I don't
No,
think it's good.
totally.
That's the thing. Um,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you do uncomfortable things so that you have order, and then you feel comfortable at home. It's more comfortable to take out the trash than to not take it. But it's uncomfortable to pick it up and take it outside and like do the thing that makes the order.
Yeah. I think trying to bring it back to meditation then,
Hmm.
it feels uncomfortable to sit down and just try to be aware of what thoughts are coming up. That feels uncomfortable. For me, even physically, I can't sit physically comfortably on the ground. Like 2 minutes in, I'm like, oh, my back, like, ooh,
I really think
my neck.
it's a great proposition that you made when you're saying I need to just sit down.
I
Because
think so.
also the body is not accustomed to that position, to
No,
the just sitting down on the floor with crossed legs.
which is
It's so
hilarious.
weird. It is because
That's
actually
comfort. That's the comfort thing, man.
the yogic name for that pose it's Sukhasana.
Uh huh.
Asana is just posture, and Sukh is like peace,
Yeah.
Sukha or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's called that because it's the
Yeah.
most peaceful posture that you could be in for
Disagree.
hundreds of like of course because our western bodies are just they like
Oh
chairs and they
man,
like
beds, soft
sofas.
beds,
Yeah,
beds,
exactly.
and like as soon as it's 2 degrees too cold, we put on a sweater, and when it's slightly hot, we're like, ugh, dying. Like we're so civilized into like I don't know, we're so bad at being uncomfortable.
Right, but
So
the exact intention or purpose of that posture, just sitting crossed legs,
yeah,
is to be in peace, is to be comfortable and to be able to
yeah,
do a meditation without being oh my knee or like this is hard to maintain. Because
yeah.
you could be there for like all day, but maybe maybe we need to sit more like that. Or make, if you really want to go into a meditation, I would
Yeah.
say do it in a chair, like
Right, but then
not
my
laying back,
yeah.
but just sitting down normally.
Yeah, and this is always something that is myself putting a barrier in front of myself. But I've always had that like need. I don't. It's. I don't know what it is, but it's like getting ideas, and then having to do that thing, and force myself to do that thing. Whether it's like I'm on a ride and I'm like halfway through and I don't really have a bottle, but I'm like I'm gonna ride to this super far away and just like fucking do it. Or if I like was a kid, I was playing basketball and I was like, you're not gonna go inside until you shoot 10 like nothing but net shots, and then I would be there for like 3 hours, just forcing myself to
Mm.
do that. And I think I approach sometimes I get that with meditation where I'm like, no, you're gonna sit cross-legged on the ground to do this, even if it's uncomfortable. You're gonna do that so that over time it's gonna become comfortable, and and you're also going to be better at meditating. But then usually I get a pain in my knee a week later. I'm like, I can't do that. And then I don't just, I stop the whole thing altogether. So it's like a self
Mm.
sabotage, like high goal. That's a high goal setting problem, I guess. Maybe everyone,
Yeah.
that's a big barrier that people set up.
In my experience, I relate that to fear of winning or success.
Maybe, yeah.
Um,
Subconscious
it's
sabotage.
it's yeah, and being your own tyrant,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
the whole topic. It's so hard to talk about because
Yeah.
you would have to be talking about how you make yourself how you make it harder on yourself to
Hmm.
what is it to go into a new understanding, or more than a new understanding, the issue is with getting to a new manifestation,
Right.
practical and life manifestation of that new
Yeah.
mindset.
It's like what we're trying to do, or what I'm trying to do. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm trying to set up a conscious will in my mind that is symbiotic with the monkey mind, ego, with the whole system. And uh, maybe I have a tendency to set up that voice, or that will enacting role in my mind, and I will turn and make that closer to what you like, a tyrant. It's like it can be a benevolent leader, or it could be a tyrant and be overly strict and prescriptive and inhibit. It's like we're trying to set up a proper leader in our mind. It's like we're
Hmm.
trying to put in power the correct government, and
Hmm.
uh, and it's hard, because the population of my brain just wants free food and sleeping all the time, and and be on a
Yeah,
relax and
yeah, yeah.
not progress. You know,
I like the analogy, by the way. It's a great analogy because actually you started with a
seeing where it
political
goes.
question.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, yeah. Is that a good analogy, or
That makes sense.
is it
No,
wrong?
no, I'm not making fun of you.
I know.
I like the
Yeah.
analogy. Yeah,
Okay.
I
Okay.
like it.
Okay. I'm trying to poke holes in it now because
Of course, I mean every analogy could fall down
yeah,
but
I think metaphors are useful.
they are, yeah.
Yeah.
And that this one is very useful right now because we are trying to figure out what the proper government is
Yeah.
for our minds.
Yeah.
And that's just what the proper philosophy is and what the proper principles are,
Yeah.
and the general guidelines that rule our behavior. I need to
Hmm.
take just 10 seconds. Close the door.
No worries.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay.
I would say, um, right now, then, two quick things. I guess, uh, because we're all about designing and implementing a designed plan, not just something arbitrary. because up until this point, our experience of the world and mental government, I guess, has not been decided by us. It's been adopted by our environment and genetics and all that other
Exactly.
stuff.
Hmm.
Um, I would say, to carry on the analogy, the president seat in my mind gets hijacked by 35 different positions throughout the day, depending on variables. And
Hmm.
I guess that's the thing that I want to move away from. So, designing the proper government to replace, and maybe it requires a symbiotic multi like president
Varied.
role that
Oh, okay.
switches in and out for various purposes, but they should all be designed, is what I'm saying. Do you agree?
I do.
Or do you think
Because
there's like a
otherwise,
constant voice that should be, you know?
I agree. You should always design both mindset and manifestation of mindset,
Hmm.
but you can't presume that it's all designed just by you, right? It's like a relationship with culture
Yeah.
and community. It's like a give and take. So I guess the game is more not eradicate external influence and like
Hmm.
be the only author
Right.
of the design. You have to go through that process. That's like a relationship.
Yeah.
But you do need to say no to the things that don't serve you,
Hmm.
and also like if you're trying to implement like waking up at the same time every day,
Yeah.
you didn't come up with that.
Trying.
But then you make it yours, and then that's your design for
Hmm.
yourself,
Hmm.
even though that's also coming from
Right.
because we also mirror everything. I don't think we
Yeah.
only do that when we're young, like we mirror things and
No.
I think we continually do that.
Yeah.
But you change your mentors and your
Yeah.
ideals and so
So
I don't know.
then we acknowledged that there is a personality that can be adopting the role of mental governance. Can we? So that's not to say eliminate or cut off external influence. I think for me it means deliberately putting in place a a participating mirror that when information comes in, you have the ability to interface with that information consciously and from a perspective that you've designed. Uh,
Hmm.
um, I think that's one of the, and maybe that perspective that you are approaching things with, that's designed, needs to be different in different situations, but they should all be consciously designed and implemented so as to avoid, maybe in my mind, uh, the major threat, not threat,
Hmm.
the major problem, which is just being completely unaware and allowing that seat of control, reflective, participating mirror, whatever words you want to use, whatever the voices in your head, it changes all the time. There's that study of people in a mall where
Yeah.
they had someone fall and then they counted the number of people that helped them up. And the number of people that helped them up in an area that smelt good increased like massively.
Okay.
It's like
Uh-huh.
So that's not,
Mm.
it's like the predictably
That's
irrational,
a
Dan
surprise.
Ariely, all those people who talk about these forces that we have no control over that influence our decision making. And it's massive. Our gut influencing what we want to eat, our just everything.
Our
Uh,
subconscious mind,
our
bro.
subconscious
Like,
mind. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying
Mm.
designing and having control over that thing that's interfacing with the world so that you're not just like a slave to what is it? Men are slave to his emotions or whatever. David Hume, I think. I butchered
Mm.
all of that, the quote and who said it. But
Yeah.
uh,
Okay. I think here's an idea.
yeah,
Good design, or actually great design,
yeah,
is not something that's like implemented. It's not a great idea. A great
hmm,
design is not the same as a great idea.
yeah,
I think great design is just the perfect removal of everything that was unnecessary or something like
nice,
that. Like,
yes.
it's not a thing that I came up with. Great design is
Right.
just what's right,
Yeah.
no less, no more.
Separate the
And
junk.
mhm. So when
Yeah.
we're talking about designing mindset or lifestyle,
Yeah.
it's not really you implementing your design.
Yeah.
It's more of you're trying to do the less of the wrong things
Yeah.
because you mirrored so many things to kind of have a place in reality
Yeah.
that now you kind of settle and you're like, well, not now because we've been trying to do this for like, it's a process
Yeah.
and these conversations will never be definitive, but
Yes.
it's like you have time to be like, okay, now here I am, this is me.
Yeah.
But there's so many things that I don't like, and usually that kind of realization comes after some uh, breakdowns and a lot of neuroticism and anxiety out
Yeah.
of information overload
Yeah.
and realizing that you're not in control of the things you do.
Yeah.
Maybe you hurt someone, maybe hurt someone hurt you, and you're suddenly in chaos,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, maybe I am responsible for my experience.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But then the only question is, what should I do less of? What should I do more of? But
Mm-hmm.
I think the less of is more important because what you don't do gives space to what you do, and we already have
Yeah.
our lives filled. I think
Right.
we're if you're an adult, or even a teenager, you already have all your habits.
Yeah.
Like you already have it.
Locked down.
Yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
only a matter of not adopting new things, but kind of changing old ones
Yeah.
for new ones.
So if it was an operating system analogy, you only had
Hmm.
we our computers only have like 20 gigabytes, and the operating system we started with it grew to like 15, and as we get older, we put in more gigabytes of operating system, and the goal isn't to just keep adding new code to the operating system. It's removing redundancies, removing malware, removing all that stuff that isn't beneficial for the reasons that you decide are beneficial and non-beneficial, because some people could say it's arbitrary. That's the
Hmm.
design part, maybe, is you designing, this is my situation, here are the things that I see as malware, here are the exact things that I would like to slowly rectify and remove and benefit. So
Hmm.
this kind of comes back to the first step, which seems to be watching what is going on in there now. And I
Hmm.
guess that's what
Observing. Yeah.
observing. So that's it, because then you can see something and go, "What? Why is that?" And then you can be like, "No more of that." And so,
But I don't think only that. I think
okay.
also curating input,
Yeah.
selective ignorance.
Yeah.
I think those two things, like observing, but also if you just observe and then you go watch, I don't know, like maybe this is a bad analogy. I get that people are into death metal and hardcore metal.
Yeah.
I get it. I
Or
have a very close friend that's
Norwegian folk
very,
metal, bro?
he's very hardcore fan of
Yeah.
many brutal bands.
Yeah.
But I've had this
Brutal.
conversation with him, like, how do you go watch your favorite video from that band?
Yeah.
And there's like beheadings in the
Jeez.
video. Seriously.
Yeah, right. I see. Yeah.
Um, but then I guarantee that when he closes his eyes, he's getting that repeated.
Yeah.
Not only that, I'm not saying not only
It's a
that, but
repeated image that's ingrained, that's become a part of the smart of the data.
and he's a great artist, by the way. This
Yeah.
guy that I'm saying, he's a hardcore metal fan.
A lot of beheading drawings. No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
No, yeah, but it depends what you want, I
Hmm.
guess. I'm not blaming anyone or saying anything's wrong. But if
Yeah.
you want peace of mind, please don't go and watch a hardcore death metal video on YouTube after
Right.
like because then except that gives you peace or some kind of tranquility, which a lot of people find, let's say,
Hmm.
pain. They find it like it's home
Yeah.
because of some past trauma where they got inflicted pain and then pain is home. That's an actual thing that's going
Totally.
on.
Yeah, and that's a habit. Reflecting on
That's a habit.
pain and making it, that becomes a comfort. That becomes a recognized pattern of behavior that you are familiar with. And then it continues into the future because it's ingrained. And that's what we all are. We all are a smorgasbord of that activity that are interfacing with each other in a complex ecosystem in our mind. And the, I guess what we were saying is first step is, or one of the first steps is observation and making that time to observe. Second step, maybe, or simultaneous step, is to be super conscious about your information and sensory
Consumption,
diet consumption.
your
Um,
diet, your overall diet,
Man,
what the
yeah,
general, the great diet.
yeah, right, yeah, right now, my great diet is 900,000 calories, bro. And I need to go on an information fast.
Me too. I
Uh,
think I've been doing that lately, with
you have been doing that, yeah,
not spending too much time on the phone
yeah,
but it's so hard.
yeah.
Because also it's a
And
great tool.
my
It's a
ego will be like,
beautiful,
where
great.
is he? Why won't he respond to me? And then I'm like, oh, I need people to respond at exact times, and then it becomes hilarious to watch myself
Dude,
do
and
that.
myself, I do I
Yeah.
I do that. I get frustrated when people don't answer
Yeah.
on demand because everything is so instant now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anywhere in the world, like
It's
you
crazy.
it's like you get frustrated because someone in China didn't immediately answer WhatsApp.
Yeah. Dude, 60 years ago, if I was like, my friend in Mexico won't respond, it's been 10 minutes. You're like,
Yeah.
what?
Dude, that's
Did you
like a
send a
Louis
letter on a
C.K.
boat? What did
joke
you?
about, yeah,
Totally, yeah.
I don't know, about people flying on airplanes
Right,
being
yeah.
like, beautiful.
That's true. That's true. So I guess on a personal level, we've been talking basically around uh, talking about implementing and approaches for implementing change, positive change in your life and conscious activity so that your awareness is improved
Yeah,
of
more
the
more
immediate world.
philosophical approach, more
Yeah.
abstract approach, which is, I think,
What I enjoy it.
more important because then the practical changes will be easier if you have the right philosophical approach.
I like to
for
think that's
transformation.
true. I
Yeah.
like to think that's true. I feel like
Yes,
I
maybe
feel
not.
like like Alan Watts would laugh in our face and be like, "Look at these people trying to come to a
Yeah.
conclusion about something like they think that they're
For
doing
sure,
something."
yeah.
And so many people watching, or so many people watching, anybody who sees this might be like, "What are they talking about? This doesn't mean anything." But it feels meaningful to me, so I'll
Mhm.
continue speaking in
Yeah,
this way.
I feel the same way. Right.
uh,
And I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure
it's
many other
clarification. It's
people
clarification.
will find it useful to engage in this type of
Yeah.
philosophical endeavor
Approach. Yeah.
to kind of figure out what the best, maybe not the best or the right for us, because we have
Yeah.
very similar
Right.
experiences, I guess.
Uh huh.
So,
Yes.
because also it's I let me just say this. This is not
100%.
the first conversation on this even that we've had. Like this is not even new ground,
No.
but
In
it
a
is something
way.
that you have to in it is because it's a new
Yeah.
mindset
Yeah.
that's going over
Yeah. The thing.
this like the same
It's the
thing that
thing. Yeah.
so in that way we will have this conversation again and it will be new because
Yeah.
our
It
we will be
evolves.
in an
It
yeah it
evolves.
evolves.
Yeah, but it's a practice of, and this is why I think this stuff is important because speaking out loud and formulating sentences and having a back and forth, it helps clarify and remind and expose and shine a light on things, and I think that's super beneficial. And as a fundamental message of these conversations is I hope other people start having longer form conversations. I'll throw that out there. Um,
Me too.
so I mean, the thing is, we don't have much time in our day, and it's filled with so
Hmm.
many different. Hold on, hold on, hold on.
It is all
Hold on,
time.
hold on, hold on, hold on. Give me
Yeah.
a second. Uh, yeah, we fill our time. We fill our
it
time.
feels like there's not enough
Our
time
habits
to
fill our
reflect.
time.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have. It's not that we don't have time. We've filled our time.
Yeah, that's why what you
So
don't do gives room to a new thing that you can do.
yeah. So I on my priority list, moving forward is uh, completely reduce information input. Like try to cut down 90% attempt. Uh, make myself sit often and begin the observation stage. The consistent habit of observation, and then that's a good start because in the observation we begin to notice what is subconscious and what is unconscious, and we begin to once you see a piece of that malware, it's not natural to just be like, oh, that's great, and then continue. That continues. I mean, it's a
I've done
habit
that.
of no. What, like, would you say that
Yeah.
you haven't enforced a change, but it's not that you've liked it and been like, this is good, I hope I continue doing this. You've probably been like, that's bad, but then it's a habit, so it's continued. Or did
hmm
you enjoy the malware?
Um, let's say to put it in very practical terms,
Yeah.
I enjoy chocolate bars.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
Right.
What's your favorite
So,
percentage cocoa? Tell me about
dude,
your milk chocolate or dark chocolate. What's the deal here
I
with that?
like all chocolate.
Me
I
too, man.
even like raw cocoa.
Beans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is a lot
Are
healthier,
they
doesn't have
beans?
sugar.
Nibs.
It's like a seed. It's like,
They a bean?
it's not a bean. It's more of a seed.
Yeah.
I think so.
I don't know if the pieces are nibs.
Oh.
I know that chopped up. Anyways, yeah, that's good. They're so good.
But the I was referring more of the I don't
Yeah,
want to say any brands, but like
I know what
just
you're saying.
milk,
Yeah,
milk chocolate, sugar, high
yeah,
fructose corn syrup.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
The
So,
most the most dopamine release you can get from a plastic wrapped thing
hmm
is so good.
and
It's
I've done
very
that a
good.
lot of times
Yeah,
while knowing
yeah,
it's not a good thing,
yeah,
and tricking myself to enjoy it,
yeah.
and then just feeling shitty afterwards.
Yeah, but the thing is,
Completely. Yeah.
here's the problem though. There's also something normal and natural about going through that process. But is the goal just to be aware? Because there's like a Ramdas. There's a Ramdas lecture
Yeah.
or
Uh-huh.
voice recording where he's talking about getting pizza, and he gets the pizza, and he in his mind
Oh, he's talking about craving.
he's talking about craving, and he's talking about eating the pizza and tasting the pizza and feeling the dopamine and just like like going through it and
The ice cream cone
being
and being your
aware.
mouth.
Yeah, yeah. Like, is that something that is I don't think that we should do away with that stuff, because I don't think the answer is to become like an ascetic, like a
Yeah.
monk, like robe out in the middle of nowhere, just like I'm dissolving ego and becoming unconscious collective for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
that's not a goal.
it isn't.
So there's room for chocolate bars is what I'm saying. I don't want to get rid of chocolate bars.
I don't think the world will ever run out of chocolate bars or get rid of
You
them.
just got really excited for chocolate bar. You're like, oh, I need
Uh,
it.
I think it's about sugar though. It's I
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you're being it's one thing and then there's the other thing. I think
Say that
in
again.
your
Clarify.
there's one thing and then there's another thing
I agree with
in what you're
that.
saying. So one thing
Yeah,
is the craving for sugar.
yeah,
Then another thing is don't be a boring monk.
yeah,
Um, I think you can get rid of your addiction to sugar and still partake in things that give you pleasure,
yeah.
even if it's not that. Um,
Right, but it's then would you say that it's having the right government in place so that you're aware of the situation and the action that you're taking and be conscious and aware and decide whether or not you want to embark on the gluttonous, just enjoyable and focus on it thing, or yeah, no,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
yeah,
Because if I mean, the right philosophy would be for you to comprehend that
yeah,
you're doing that because of an addiction. I guess that's my
I
personal
agree.
opinion.
No, I think
But
it is, man.
and you, oh, I just give me a second.
Yeah,
I think I ran out of battery, bro.
fresh
But it's
bats.
right here. There's no problem. This is gonna be 10 seconds. By the
Hmm.
way, I already ordered the D-Tab battery. So that
Nice.
this is the last time this happens. And
How is it?
I
Is it a external battery?
completely and totally
This is
apologize for
it's
this
unacceptable.
lost time we're back on.
Unacceptable.
Jesus Christ, I'm sorry. DTAP battery is on the way.
Do you think Jesus Christ was real?
Yeah.
Yeah. You
And
think he's a real guy?
I think he's real in so many levels. Like
Right.
I believe in the
Archetypally?
historic Jesus,
Yeah.
the real Jesus that I think did exist. He wasn't a blonde guy with a pretty face, though.
Yeah.
I don't think.
You don't know that, but okay.
I don't know
I'm
that,
kidding.
but I mean, there's more of a probability that he was brown skinned, though. I
I'm
think.
not arguing. Yeah. Maybe yeah, I
Yeah, maybe.
don't.
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to know
I'm
anything about
saying
history.
I believe
There's a figure.
the the historical figure exists
Yeah.
because a guy
Yeah.
existed that had this sort of
Yeah.
Christ consciousness. Or
Yeah.
I don't believe that he was born from a virgin though. And
Yeah. Anything that has anything that you need like faith against do I say against or against? Um
you're Canadian
anything that
may
you have
change.
anything that anything that you have to um override what seems to be so clearly fundamental reality, this discovered through scientific method. It just I don't,
I don't put
that's
my faith
unnecessary.
in it,
Right.
but I'm not
But
like that's stupid to believe.
right,
I mean,
because there might be archetypal benefit to believing something like that, whether or not historically you
mhm,
fundamentally believe was fact.
great.
Side
Yeah.
that was a sidetrack.
You
I,
never.
I I would like to I would like to try to segue our conversation uh, somehow. I don't mean to cut off the topic, but if we could summarize maybe the takeaways from conscious government
Hmm,
replacing habit changing.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Let's try
Yeah,
to bring it
yeah,
to a closed
like a seed.
circle thing.
Just bring it to a
Hmm.
cocoa nib.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then eat it.
You know, I believe in practicality. That's where I I like putting my faith on. I
Yeah.
believe in it, right? So,
Function, practicality,
hmm,
usefulness. These are all
useful.
great things. Yeah.
They're great because you
They're
could
great.
argue that they're real because you
Yeah.
can take the knowledge into
Yeah.
your practical life and
Yeah.
which is the actual designing, I think, the implementation of new habits. Or so I think we're having philosophical conversations so that the behavior can match the mindset.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's you get lost and it feels like just a struggle without meaning. But if the philosophy is right, you have the meaning, the intention is right, then the manifestation and the behavior matches
Yeah.
the mindset,
Yes.
and there's congruence. Is that a thing? Congruence.
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 Thanks.
Do
Yeah.
you
Is it?
think?
Yeah.
And this is a whole kind of other topic, but um, consumption versus production is also a muscle. I think.
But why a
Like
versus though?
like a
Hmm.
metaphysical muscle. What did you
So do you
say?
think there's a fight? I didn't like the versus.
Versus. Did I say
Versus.
versus?
Yeah,
I don't.
productivity versus
Right.
consumption.
I don't mean it in a fight. I just mean like compared
Hmm.
to.
I this may get misinterpreted, but I like consumption, and I think that like
Mhm.
it can be avoided. Although we're in a consumption-based
Oh yeah.
society,
Yeah.
which is not that I'm saying consumption is bad, but you should have conscious consumption, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The double C.
Double C, copyright.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
um,
The double C. You need two eyes to see, don't you?
you do, and two
Uh,
ears and two nose holes.
I mean, you're right. Um, I guess you don't need anyways. I think that
You can
I
sleep when
am.
I.
It's more comfortable for me because it's habit and because I'm familiar with it to consume
Mhm.
media, food. Just a very consume. I'm very consume rather than produce heavy. And I think my habit of, uh, if you could look at the graph of consumption versus production, uh, consumption would probably be like that, and productivity would be like that, and then like this, and then like that, and then like
Mhm.
this. Um, I think there's much more ebb and flow in massive flux in my
Mhm.
productive trajectories, but my consumption habit is pretty steady. And sometimes I
Yeah.
guess sometimes I can go will like this, but then it might like that, and then uh,
Mhm.
is
But do you think that consumption powers production? Because like most, there's been some times that I'm like consuming, and then that consumption gets me. I mean, I remember very clearly as a teenager coming out of the movie theater
mm-hmm,
feeling like I was destined to make movies.
right.
And that was a very clear example of an experience where consumption powered a productive mindset in me. I've
Yeah,
had that happen many times, and
yeah.
but there's there's so many times where I'm like I can't consume anything else before I finish this,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Uh,
force myself in.
yeah. I I feel like we have become used to inspiration, overloaded with inspiration. I totally agree. I think that's like another one of those things where you need to. It's the balance, and I think we're in a time where, um, man, like Instagram, you have people subscribed or following or whatever, following like 100 inspiration channels, and all day they look at a message that's like, you don't get the thing unless you do the thing, or keep going forward, or like, you got this, or like, don't settle, or whatever the things are. And people are like, oh yeah, 2 seconds later they're on another picture texting something else, uh, and it's like we're becoming
Yeah,
just eh,
like
you know what I'm saying, like, so
inspiration is just entertainment and escapism
yeah, like the other
for most
day.
people.
Yeah, the other day I watched a movie, Lean on Pete. Great movie, very moving. I cried. Afterwards, I just picked up a book and I started reading something else. And then I
Hmm.
think I probably sent messages, and then maybe was scrolled through Twitter, and then the impact of the movie immediately started fading because I was already other input,
Yo,
consumption,
dude,
something else.
I felt that um, while watching the documentary like 4 days ago.
Yeah, it's Hawaii.
Hawaii,
It's Hawaii.
Hawaii. Dude, it was so profound to go through that.
Mm-hmm.
That lasted probably like 5 hours, or at least the rest of that day.
Yeah.
And it made me go into a really peaceful mindset, and it made me want to sit down and I meditated. I wrote and reflected on the film. But
Yeah.
then the next day it was gone. It was pretty much gone.
Yeah.
It was just like it's now like another film.
Yeah.
Um, because there's so many other stuff going on
So much.
that, and then the mind is just like getting better at letting it go and then
Yeah.
consuming some other thing and going to like some other experience. And
We're
yeah.
desensitized to inspiration, or we're learning to lessen our impact from sensory input. I think there's just too much, and we can't. It couldn't all affect you, because if it all affected you, we would be nothing but like, I don't know, man. We just wouldn't be able to get anything done.
Hmm.
So, um, conscious consumption, double C. That's a
Hmm.
big,
Those,
yeah. So I
which
need,
I think it's just exactly the same as selective ignorance.
yeah.
Just and that's isn't that like the same with habits?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like you consume habits.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
you choose which ones you
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
so you also
Yeah.
need to, like, if you're curating your Facebook feed,
Yeah.
just curate your habit feed.
Yeah.
And maybe that was like the worst analogy I've made so far.
No,
But
I think I think that's accurate, man. I think that's accurate. It's because I think we haven't curated our habit feed. I think our ego and our mind is attached to our feed, our mental feed. But right now, and I guess this whole conversation is about is becoming the curator of your habit feed.
yeah,
That's and as we talked before, I think the first step is to remove the what we don't, what's not useful, what's not practical, and what we don't need.
and observe.
Yeah.
Um, it's like you can't curate your Facebook feed if you don't go and scroll it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So that may be a social media analogy to
I like it.
meditation
I
that
like it.
kind of
Yeah.
works, because you
Yeah.
need to go into your own Facebook scrolling
You got to see what's
with
there.
your mind,
Yeah.
and it's there, and just sit down and scroll through it, because
Yeah.
um,
Cuz you
that's like the first step to having a relationship with it, and then taking
yes.
care of it, and then saying no to what's not useful.
Yeah, and just like the terms of agreements of the mind, we need to recognize that if we put a post in there, it's going to stay there. Even if you try to delete it,
Yeah.
they're going to own it.
Mm-hmm.
And also you're going to sell it to other people. You're going to pass it off to other people. So
May go viral. Yeah.
it could go viral,
Could go viral.
and that's a meme, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's literally Richard Dawkins' meme.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's crazy.
uh, and yeah, that's so it's our minds are Facebook, bro. We are all Facebook.
Which I think it's that way because we mirror society, and and the the outside mirrors the inside, as above so below,
Yeah.
as outside so inside.
Yeah.
Um, and and we produce simulations, so the simulation is an archetype, or a symbol of the creator of the simulation.
Yeah.
um,
Clarify. I'm a little lost.
we as a species, we like creating
Simulations.
simulations. I think Facebook is a simulation of society,
Yeah.
and like The
Yeah.
Sims, for example.
Right. 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 Right.
But then the simulation becomes a symbol of the creator of the whole
Yes.
species.
Yeah. It's reflected in.
It's
It's
reflected in.
reflected. Yeah. It's
That's
not.
why
Yeah.
analogies work, though, I think.
Yeah. You're not talking about actual simulation theory and that we're living in a simulation.
I'm not saying
That's
we
why I
are
got
or we
confused.
aren't.
I
Uh,
know. I know.
but yeah,
But
that's
it's like
part
a
of
metaphor.
that.
It's a metaphor.
It is
That's true.
a big part of simulation theory, that
Yeah.
we produce games and art, I think, started as simulation.
Yeah.
Drawing, the caveman's drawing on the cave walls, the the hunting of the mammoth.
Yeah.
that's a representation. You could say that's a simulation, and then we are just getting better at that until
Mm-hmm.
it's photorealistic 4D. I'm going into simulation theory. I'm not. I don't. I didn't
No,
want that,
no,
but
no, no.
then that's what I was saying about Facebook. It is like a social online like simulation
The
of
mind.
society and the mind of individuals.
Yeah.
So it's reflecting the individual's mind and tastes, well, yeah,
Taste.
and taste,
Yeah.
preference, etc. Yeah.
Um. So this goes into let's pretend that the internet is creating a world brain, then, right? So let's take Facebook and let's put it a part of like all of the social media stuff online.
It's the singularity theory.
Not necessarily that far, just that the internet is becoming like it's becoming a world brain. You do see that with the way that, hashtags and people will get on a bandwagon and everyone says that. It's like the mind having an opinion and the
I'm
internet.
excited. I'm excited. It's like the new library of Alexandria.
No, you're talking about something different.
Okay.
I agree that it is like that. All the
The
information is
one
there.
mind, the
I,
one cloud that
I'm
gathers all
right,
information.
right. But I'm talking more about the personality. It's gaining a personality, and
Okay.
and and that the thoughts of people messaging each other are getting feedback and getting habits and patterns in like groups and parties and different regions of the brain. So like there's an amygdala fear based groups that are forming. And they all communicate with each other, and some groups win out, and certain opinions become popular and shared and memes. Um, in that way, it's almost like this is kind of a like a Jordan Peterson message, but it's like in this way, it's so crucial right now that people reflect personally so that their input into this thing that's growing online, into this organism, that the input becomes conscious uh, and purposeful and clear and positive. Because
Yeah.
if we go in unconscious and what it seems like is happening, we're gonna create a organism that, like you said, reflects the negative aspects of our mind, and we're gonna create this psychopath of a world mind.
Yeah. Collective
And
mind.
yeah, so not only do I think that it's crucial for us to improve things consciously in our own lives, but I don't think that there's been a time where it has more of an impact on the greater world because we're so connected. It like becomes more,
Yeah.
and this is what we were talking about in the first conversation. Maybe was that
So just to kind of
yeah,
summarize what you just said,
yeah,
you're saying every person, it's more any person's impact is more powerful now than ever.
I think so. Yeah,
So because of the connectedness that we share, and
yeah,
so whatever you think is actually because what you think, you action, and what you action has consequences, and uh, you know, even if you think you're no one or what you do doesn't matter, it really
yeah,
does on the
totally,
collective.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And for instance, I think the way that we approach social media, say, or the tendency to post and advertise yourself as a certain thing, and to have your Instagram feed as basically propaganda for yourself. Like everyone is a PR firm for how they want other people to see them,
Yeah.
and this approach to presenting yourself online, I don't think that that's inherent from the technology. Like, I don't think it has to be that way. And I'm not saying that everybody on social media acts the same, but I think that we've created a cultural habit of treating social media as this. This is what it is. This is how it works. And so people who come into habits online, they adopt the habit that we've created collectively of treating social media that way, and that's going to continue permanently unless I don't know unless something happens or there's a massive conscious shift in the way people approach these things. But that's what I mean is that you're even adopting the status quo of way things are going on social media, approach to social media, even that then your photos someone else see and are like, oh, whoa, that's they are really presenting themselves in this like super like I need to figure out how to make my life larger than reality and I'll hire a photographer and I'll take 30 pictures and I'm gonna order this meal again because it looked better when I ate it or whatever. People go to greater and greater lengths to
Yeah, because it's easier to deceive the community with
yeah,
the uniform.
yeah,
So you can just, but I think that physical reality is that way too. What you wear, how you present yourself. People pay for,
yeah, yes,
go to the barber shop. Um, you know, uh,
you're right,
even
yeah,
even surgery. To
yeah,
be someone else.
yeah,
So that may just be a reflection of how we actually are in physical reality. I think the basic premise is your ego is your avatar. Present yourself to, I think that's as far as my sentence could go. Because some people present themselves as they feel that they are.
yeah,
Some people present themselves as close as what the outer appearance represents
hmm,
who they want to be,
yeah, or who they
which
want people to see them as.
may be completely different as
Yeah,
what they are and feel like at the moment.
yeah, and that's massive on film sets, for instance.
For instance, yeah. And workplaces, I guess,
Yeah,
hierarchy, just people trying to. I think the most common one would be people presenting themselves as higher in the hierarchy as they actually are.
yeah,
And by that I mean the hierarchy of competence
yeah.
and
Or
capital.
or appearing in ways that they think people higher up in the hierarchy will appreciate. So maybe later they can
Mostly
get
material possessions
yeah. So
that
later you
show
yeah,
status.
you can get
Um,
a larger cut.
and that's people showing their wealth on Instagram and they
Yeah,
travel because they want that picture.
yeah,
And
yeah.
even I think it's crazy, people recording people recording concerts with their tablets.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that to be completely unreasonable. You're watching
Yeah.
a
Of the
shitty movie of something that's like it's more
yeah,
much
yeah,
higher resolution
yeah,
right in front of you, and you're
yeah,
watching it shitty on the thing, and you're right there, and you paid to be there.
yeah.
That's for me like an extreme of how unreasonable this thing is getting.
Yeah, and I've done that, and I can tell you that maybe out of 10, let's say, 10 concerts or places or events that I filmed, I would say I've looked back on one of them for
Right.
like 30
Mm.
seconds, maybe. And I could find a better version on YouTube of someone of like an actual produced, like
Yeah.
purpose driven, uh, yeah, it's weird,
Hmm.
man. Yeah, it's really weird. There's a in there's this group of islands in Raja Ampat in Indonesia, and there's this bunch of islands, and gas is very expensive because it's hard to get fuel, and so prices to go on like a even just a shitty boat to go somewhere, it's expensive, and I was on this island, and there's this one place in Raja Ampat. You go there, you climb up these stairs, and then you take a picture, and it's like the picture of Raja Ampat. And you go on Google,
Hmm.
you type it, and that's the picture that comes up.
Hmm.
And the price for a boat to go there was it was 12 million rupiah. It was over 1,000 Canadian dollars
Hmm.
to take this boat. You could split it if you found people, but it's a very like not a very busy place. It's still a very new destination that people are going to. So it's not like you could easily say, "Hey, 30 people, let's go to the place." What is it called? Pia. Anyways,
Hmm.
so the only thing people do there, you can't snorkel, you can't dive, you go up there to take a picture of yourself there so you can put it on Instagram and all this stuff.
Yeah.
That's the only that's the only function. It's like it's a beautiful place, no doubt. But there's so much other beauty you could see, and the cost to go just so you can get that souvenir seems I couldn't believe that so many people were doing that. I couldn't believe that I mean, I could maybe argue the other side. You paid so much to go there. That's the play, that destination. I get it, but it's like
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's
I think it has a lot to do with memory and the value of a memory.
yeah,
And if that memory is not only a memory but a digital archive,
hmm,
I think for people it's much more valuable than actually enjoying being there
yeah,
and then just having the mental memory, which is way more weak
right,
than the archive, than the digital archive. But it's getting crazy because the technology used to be you can take a picture and then maybe for a minute that took you to take the picture, you weren't actually there, but the price was so much cheaper. You know, it's a few minutes, you get a picture, and then that memory is physical and it's so much
hmm,
more valuable.
hmm,
But then it's like a whole video blog now.
yeah,
It's just like a daily blog of all your travel, and all you did was just talking to your camera.
yeah,
Um, and I think that's just it's balance, bro. Just like you were saying, it's really
yeah.
balance.
Although I will say, those people that just vlog
Yeah.
and they make an income to afford just doing that, I'm also very jealous of that.
Dude, I tried to do that.
That's
I couldn't do. That's not me. I tried it for
yeah,
a while. I wanted to like document the start of my company and the
yeah,
lifestyle that I was. Uh, but it's a lot of work. People
yeah.
that actually do that, they're all most of them are inspired by Casey Neistat, and that guy has a lot of energy. That's all he does,
Yeah, yeah,
and he's one of the best. And it really takes a lot of sacrifice and
yeah, yeah.
energy and very very
To maintain.
little sleep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
especially the ones that edit their edit
Their own
every
stuff.
day.
Yeah.
Like they shoot all day and then edit for 3 or 4 hours every night, and then they
Hmm.
publish every morning, and like that's a lot of work. That's I
I.
congratulations to everyone who's doing that. But there's most of them stop after 200 or so everyday blogs because they
Hmm.
need their life back.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
I think that I would like to start that practice mentally every day, maybe going back and curating parts of the day that are useful
I'm doing it for
in memory.
myself in like
Yeah.
diary journaling.
Nice.
That's very close to it though, and
Yeah.
it's very therapeutic
Yeah.
to do it and to talk to the camera as if it's like
I can see
you're
that. Yeah. Journal. Yeah.
it gets to be the I
That
guess or
that's
I don't know.
the well. I guess. Uh, wouldn't you say it would be better to do that with another human being? It's like
Yeah,
that's maybe a less functional
but
version of like we finished the day, now we're hanging out, let's talk about stuff and find out what the
mhm,
truth
mhm.
is and other perspectives.
But it's
Um,
funny that if you have an audience, there's conversations, there's an actual relationship with your audience.
Yeah.
and people read the comments, and there's a part of the audience that's more engaged and personal. There's haters, there's
Yeah.
and you can learn a lot from the haters, because there's haters that are very articulate and that will point out something valuable.
Yeah.
So it's a relationship. It's a process to have an audience and to listen to the feedback. I guess that's valuable, I think.
Yeah.
To some extent,
I
can
agree.
be hurtful. I don't know.
Yeah.
Dude, good combo.
Good
I
convo.
feel like maybe we took a big segue,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I'm feeling a organic kind of slowing down of the convo.
yeah. Which is, yeah, we've been talking for almost 2 hours, an hour and 40, something like
Nice.
that.
Yeah.
Mm,
Nice. So,
it feels, hi.
yeah, I'm gonna try to continue those. I'm gonna try to maintain those what we talked about sort of in the first portion of this conversation, and try to bring that into like practice for over the next couple days or before we talk again. So that's gonna
Yeah,
be kind of at the forefront.
me too. I'm gonna
Yeah.
try to sit down more in a cross-legged
Yeah.
position in the floor to
Yeah.
kind of get my
Nice.
body more accustomed to that, and my back, my neck.
Yeah.
I
The
think that's
back.
been a huge problem for me, that I've always meditated, but I think I'm also going to try some meditations just sitting down on a chair so that I
Nice.
don't
Yeah.
have the body issue, and then
Yeah.
try to experience my mind a little bit more, because
Yeah.
right now my mind experience is just my experience with the internet and a
Yeah.
monitor and like screen.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to try both of them.
It's so easy when your work is on a screen like mine all day. It's so easy to get to just consume and open a tab and to get it's
Mhm.
that's such a practice of using screens and technology as a tool as just tools and just know and focusing. That's another priority. But that might
Oh,
that come from observation as well, probably.
mhm.
Yeah.
That brought up that I've been doing a lot of um, just opening YouTube real quickly, putting some mind speaking. I
Uh
don't want to
huh.
name any names.
Uh huh.
Just putting up some mind speaking,
Yeah.
and then consuming that, feeling that it's doing something
Yeah.
inside
Yeah.
of me
Yeah.
slowly.
Yeah.
But I think most of the time it's a distraction. It's
Yeah.
become so much that I need to quiet down external voices,
It
right?
yeah, it's also it and it becomes an excuse to not face yourself, I think.
Does.
Yeah.
Because it becomes entertainment.
Yeah.
Inspiration becomes entertainment. And also like pattern recognition, feeling like you're understanding something.
Yeah.
That's instant gratification too, because
Yeah.
most of the time you should be executing. I think we're in that point now, and we've been there for a long time. Most of the time you
Yeah.
should be executing.
Yeah,
I
it's
feel
that
like
whole
that.
thing like even 2 years ago we had a conversation. I was like, "Man, I'm done with consuming all of this information. I want to enact in my life and actually make this functional and practical." And I think that's an ongoing pursuit. But I think through the conversations, I'm starting to understand more processes and come up with better analogies and formulate in a better way so that it becomes easier to do
Yeah.
that. So, yeah. Thanks for the conversation.
Thank you, bro. I'm happy we talked, and looking forward for the next one. We're also working on the whole structure of the podcast. We should
Yeah.
mention we're slowly perfecting. We're still like in basic logo, profile picture, and
Yeah.
like we just came up with the description.
Yeah. Which is
Which I
hard
think we're
because
happy. Yeah,
some platforms only let you have like two sentences.
shorter. Yeah.
So I feel like maybe we might it might be good to record a video message for the main channel. I guess YouTube lets you have a longer description, so but that's also where you can put a video. But yeah, we're still in the early phases with the structure, so hopefully there's improvement on the next one, but we're getting there.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think we're improving
Yeah.
slowly but surely.
All
All
right.
right, bro.
Thanks, my friend. Talk soon.
Thank you, bro. Talk to you soon.
See ya.
Peace.